Well, good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I am Michael Trick, the Dean here at CMUQ, and I'd like to welcome you all to the Dean's Lecture Series at Carnegie Mellon University in Qatar. This semester marks the 20th anniversary of Carnegie Mellon opening in Education City. This semester and this anniversary is a milestone event for us here at CMUQ, and we see this as an opportunity to reflect on the impact we have had over the last 2 decades. One way we measure our impact is with the strong relationships we have formed with the business community in Qatar. HSBC is an excellent example of this. The friendship that we have had with HSBC began when we were very new here. In fact, HSBC offered internships to CMUQ students in 2006. In 2006, the place we were standing on was desert. Okay, that was the year that we did the groundbreaking for this particular building. Since then, HSBC Middle East has shared knowledge with our students at career fairs, hired our students and graduates, and offered their perspective on banking in our community. We deeply value the role our community partners play in our students' education, and HSBC is an outstanding example of that. Today's speaker is Mr. Abdul Hakeem Mostafawi, and he is a Qatari banking pioneer. 2008, he became the first Qatari national to head up an international bank in Qatar when he was appointed CEO of HSBC Middle East Qatar. Mr. Mostafawi has seen banking in Qatar grow exponentially over the last 35 years, and his extensive knowledge of the local market and international banking has made him an important leader in the Qatar business community. This is not the first time you've spoken here. We hosted Mr. Mostafawi in 2012 to speak about economics, banking, and international finance to our learning community. It is my pleasure to welcome him back to Carnegie Mellon Qatar.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, Masa al-Khair. Thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts about HSBC and the role that HSBC playing in the international financial institution. But before doing so, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on your 20th anniversary. You surely have made a remarkable milestone as far as Qatar is concerned with 20 years being here. And I think we can witness that through the business community. You have made a huge impact. We have seen it in the education sector and the community as a whole. Now, as for the bank is concerned, today I'm going to be talking about HSBC's internationalism globally and so on. As far as the bank is concerned, it was founded in March 1865 in Hong Kong as facilitating trading between East and West. And then it grew within Asia and so on. Thereafter, the bank basically acquired Marine Midland in North America. It acquired the British Bank in the Middle East. It acquired Midland Bank in UK and parts of Europe. And this is where you have today a bigger bank and so on. Today, we're still facilitating global trade and the largest international bank with global footprint over 50 countries and presence in all major trade hubs. And in Qatar, by the way, we've been here for 70 years, and this year is our 70th anniversary, and I'm proud to say that I've been with the bank for more than 30 years. To be precise, 35 years. I just want to also share with you a short video of our history here in Qatar, if you allow me, please. The 1st of March 2024 marks 70 years of HSBC history in Qatar. As one of the first banks, we continue to build on the strong foundation laid by our predecessors. We opened our doors to provide best-in-class banking for the community and helped local businesses to start cross-border trading and connect Qatar to the world. We have built a reputation for providing local expertise and global connection. Our history bears this out. We grew the country and handled 45% of Qatar's total imports by 1965. We installed the first ATM in 1986 and provided the first custody services platform in 1998. We were the first bank with an investment banking platform in 2005 and were the first to open a digitally focused branch in 2020. The past 70 years have seen Qatar undergo an incredible transformation from a pearl supplier to a major global energy supplier. It's a transformation that will continue with the ambition of the Qatar National Vision 2030 and beyond. For every day of our past and every day of our future, we are privileged to be part of Qatar's ongoing development. With the support of our clients, our strong relationships, and deep heritage in Qatar, we are delivering on HSBC's purpose, opening up a world of opportunity. Thank you for the 70 wonderful years. Let us look forward to the future together. Okay, I hope that was useful a bit about our Qatar story. And by the way, we are the largest international bank in Qatar, worth mentioning. Now, before going into the internationalism and the corporate strategy of HSBC per se, it's very important to highlight a few points about what are the prerequisites for internationalism in the banking sector and so on. Of course, having a presence in key markets, major trade hubs, to form a very strong network of both emerging and developing markets, sharing opportunities between different countries across the network, sharing the challenges, that's very key. Moreover, having essential comprehensive cross-border products and services helps a great deal from that perspective. One other thing that's very important is specialized experts. It's very important that you have experts who have the knowledge of capital market, equity market, as well as banking in general. Very important to have a scalable technology infrastructure to enable the organization as well as the clients to actually work throughout across the network. All these things are very important to be international as such. And I was talking to one of your colleagues earlier today. Today there are many global banks. There are banks which are bigger than us and all that. But truly there are only two international banks per se, which is Citibank and I would say HSBC. The rest, there are, for example, there are larger Chinese banks, there are larger American banks and all that. They're global in nature, but not international per se, because of the network and so on. Now, in terms of, with that in mind, what is HSBC's international strategy? At HSBC, we firmly believe that success of an organization is built on a clear understanding of its purpose. And its purpose comes to life with a clearly defined strategy. Our purpose at HSBC is to open up a world of opportunity for our clients, for our employees, and the stakeholders. And this is made possible with a strategy of 4 pillars: focusing on our strength, energizing for growth, digitizing at scale, and transition to net zero. So these are the very important 4 pillars that we depend on in terms of our business model and so on. Now, in terms of focusing on our strength, what we mean by that is there are areas where we have a competitive advantage on, be it trade, be it foreign exchange solution, be it cash management, be it investment banking. These disciplines, we have an advantage over many of our competitors. So we're going to focus on those. There are areas where we may not be as competitive, let's say the real estate and so on. We're not going to focus on those. So that's, by focusing on that, we're going to look after clients who have those type of needs and so on. Now, there are examples of that. For example, we have many Qatari clients where they wanted to go to Asia. Asia is considered to be a very important corridor for HSBC, and we know many of our clients there and link them to the Qatari clients and so on. So it was a very easy thing to do from that perspective. So those type of things. We have, for example, global investors who are investing in Qatar Stock Exchange, and they wanted a bank that has a single system. They're sitting in the US or UK, and they want to operate through 50 countries without having multiple systems with different banks and all. So they come to the likes of HSBC. So these are the areas that we're really good at, and we're going to continue focusing on. Digitizing for growth. This is mainly about developing our for future, and with development programs such as HSBC University, international managers. Energizing for growth. Okay, that's the second pillar. This is mainly about developing our workforce for future with development programs such as HSBC University, International Managers Program, Global Mobility, but it's also about advising host countries with initiatives such as developing capital markets, equity capital markets developments. You know, there's been cases we've been helping governments and so on ESG initiatives, on CBDC, which is the central bank digital currencies and all that. And what's important about this, being in 50 different countries globally, we have so many different experiences. So we take on those experiences and share it with the host country that we're in and so on. The other important pillar, of course, is digitizing at scale to ensure effectiveness and efficiency at scale. And this will help us deliver seamless digital customer journey. And for example, our global clients invest in the equity market, have the ability to use a single system, as I mentioned earlier. However, HSBC Net also helps our customers to operate remotely. HSBC Evolve foreign exchange platform, which again helps us a great deal in terms of our foreign exchange solutions for our clients. Recently, the bank has acquired a UK tech bank, Silicon Valley. That will help us a great deal in terms of strengthening our digital journey going for the future. The fourth pillar is to do with the transition to net zero. We want to do more than simply our part in transition to net zero. Becoming a thought leadership. We support the customer in their journey. We share with them what is it that we're doing as far as the net zero is concerned. Partner for systematic change, embed the net zero into the way we operate. Example of that, recently we acted as a thought leadership and advisor to the Ministry of Finance in Qatar, developing their sustainable finance framework. We help a national champion, ESG champion, to advise and finance a sustainable investment in Australia. So these are some of the examples there. Now, in conclusion, HSBC's international corporate strategy is much more than just profit. It's about building a sustainable, lasting relationship with our clients globally, which benefits individual clients and communities that we're in. Once again, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to take on some questions and so on. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for some questions, so if I could ask you to raise your hand if you have one, and please use the microphone in front of you.
Yeah, now it's working. Thank you so much for this talk.
You,
it's quite insightful. Given your network and the unique advantage that you have, in your opinion, what are the main sectors and regions where you expect to see growth going forward in the global economy?
See, the global economy is very dynamic. For example, the issues you see, the challenges you see today, for example, in Europe, okay, that puts a bit of challenge in terms of growth there. So that's not an area that we're going to be looking at. The growth, majority of it is coming, you know, things are changing in the US, the interest rate environment is going down. It should help the growth to a certain extent. We believe the growth in the US is going to pick up, okay? and we have a foundation of institutions, HSBC, within US. We think Asia will continue to be another driver of growth. Definitely the Middle East has been and will continue to do the same. So it's basically Asia, Middle East, and US, and of course North America in general, because Mexico, we have a very big platform there as well. But it's very dynamic, because the recent, for example, if Trump comes and starts opening new fields, let's say oil fields, that means there is an impact on oil prices. What does that mean, for example, countries who produce oil and so on? So it's very difficult to pinpoint a single thing. But generally speaking, if you look at China today, they're growing about 5% or so. Okay, Asia generally in that range. So the growth continues to be there. China historically was about 9–10% growth per annum. Thank you, sir.
First off, Mr. Mostafawi, thank you for your time. In my opinion, I see a huge problem in our economy today is a lot of the money being generated within our economy is actually being moved out of the economy, either through institutional funds or through expat workers. And I think having a bank like HSBC, which is established everywhere in the world, is it's very helpful in combating that because it brings in a lot of institutional investors from outside. Could you elaborate more on that?
Well, I think we as a community here, the way Qatar works, okay, we depend a lot on our colleagues, expats. They're part of our community and so on, okay? So that's the way we need to look at it and so on. In terms of when you look at what is it that we produce, okay, all we produce is basically oil and gas, okay? We import a lot of stuff. So by nature of importing, you're gonna have leakage in the economy. That's normal. But what then the government does, it says, okay, we have a very small population, okay? I cannot grow the industries per se, okay? There is a way, so you need to diversify. So how do you diversify? There are two ways of diversification. One is to actually invest outside, and they do that pretty well, okay? The other side of it, it has to take its time. For example, there's a lot of emphasis today on, let's say, tourism, okay? Gas, when you look at downstream side of gas, okay, I'm not talking about production of gas itself, but we're talking about the downstream side of gas, let's say the petrochemicals and the middle industries and so on. There is an element of that that's happening. For example, you have companies like Chevron and QE who are basically at the moment in many different initiatives around those things. So I think we as a community here, we're one. Okay, and I don't like, honestly, to describe, expat, not expat, they are leaking and all that. That's the way of life, yeah? I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Could you tell us a little bit about the status of small and medium enterprise lending in Qatar? How do you see the market evolving in the near future and HSBC role in this segment?
It's a very important segment. I think the government has had many different initiatives around those, the SMEs and so on. And during the COVID, it was a challenging time for SMEs, and I think the government did their part in terms of supporting and so on. But it's a very dynamic sector, okay? And due to our population size and all that sort of thing, we tend to always have a bit of challenge here and there. So I think a continuous challenge, government support will be required there. But that's not unique to Qatar, by the way. You go anywhere globally, you're going to see that trend and so on. So also the private sector themselves of these SMEs and all that sort of thing, they need to have a different way of thinking as well. They need to understand that the business is very dynamic. So what is it that I need to change from time to time? I need to come up with solutions, because only relying on what government can do is not going to help you long term. Long term, you need to come up with solutions, doing things a bit differently and all that sort of thing. So I think it's a very important sector, and it's a challenging sector, but nevertheless, in terms of HSBC, I'll be very honest with you, it's not a sector that we're good at, because you need to have the know-how to support them. And as far as we're concerned, we don't have the know-how to actually support that sector. We do support that sector from a different point of view, from an educational point of view. For example, we liaise with the likes of Qatar Development Bank and so on, and come up with ideas about how can this sector, because that sector is very wide. Okay, it goes across different sectors in itself. So each one has a completely different discipline. So that's my answer to it, I would say. Thank you. Yes, please.
If you allow me, thank you for sharing your insights. So Qatar in the past few years, and especially the financial sector, has been undergoing a lot of transformation and positive changes. So what do you think are the most interesting opportunities that HSBC will contribute to, whether it's right now or in the next few years?
Okay, I think one of the challenges we have had in this region, including Qatar, is how do we develop the capital market, local capital market? How do we develop further the equity capital market? The equity capital market requires a lot of liquidity and all that. How to create that? When you look at, for example, equities, okay, in Qatar, for instance, when you can look at the results of the company, most of them have done actually well. But when you look at the share price, is actually down. That means you need to have a better program as far as liquidity is concerned. How can you create more attraction towards foreign investors into Qatar and so on? We have been playing a role in that, okay, but it takes more than that. That's one side. Then developing the debt capital market, it's a bit tricky, but I think it requires the help and support of different sectors. The private sector, the public sector, they need to put hand in hand together to overcome that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you for your time. I just had a question with regards to the corporate strategy as a whole. How do you go about developing your unique products and your offerings? Is it mostly done in-house at the local HSBC Qatar level, or do you have to engage in the wider group to develop different things? And if you could talk about any unique, specific things you've done for like the local market or the local HSBC in Qatar, that would be great.
Okay. We don't do, like I was saying, we don't do anything in a local level, okay? So our center of excellence is always global in nature. So if we have a product or service that we want to bring into the market, so our colleagues, because this is the best way to actually come up with it, you need a group of experts to manage that. So what we do is, for example, we have a center of excellence on certain things in a different part of the group. And then you start pulling the experts and sit in a single place and say, well, this could be, for example, a great opportunity for us to build on and so on. That's how it works. Then, let's say from a Qatar's point of view, we say, well, we think this is great, but we have that challenge. They say, okay, tell us more about it. So there is that type of dialogue that's going on across the network about the outcome and what's right and what's not and so on. Because you're looking at different cultures, you're looking at different economics, different countries are in a different stage of economy, different economic cycle and so on. So you need to consider all those sort of things and all that. Thank you, sir. Fadala.
What strategies are HSBC adopting in embracing digital currency or digital banking in Qatar and internationally?
Okay. In terms of the digital currency, okay, we believe, okay, a regulated digital currency is the way forward. We are being considered to be a thought leadership as far as they call it the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. We're advising many central banks globally. We are also talking to central bank in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, and many other parts of the region and globally, because we believe that's an area where actually we stand out And we believe this is the way forward because it's regulated and it gives the comfort for people to actually engage in it and so on. So I think there is more to come. There are some work you may see in the future coming up in Qatar as well around that. Yes, sir.
I was just curious, how do you view AI and how do you believe AI is going to change the strategic side of banking globally moving forward?
Very good question. I'll be very honest with you. I'm not an expert, but I can tell you this. What you see one side, AI is definitely on our agenda. Okay, we as HSBC globally take this very seriously. There's a group of experts who are looking at that specifically. When you look at the banking sector, there is a lot of operation side of things, okay? And we have worked on this, and I have visited India, for example, to look at our processing center. We have approximately 150,000 people work there and so on. And there's been a lot of work around how can AI help us with the process and all that sort of thing. So in the future, you may see, for example, when you pick up the phone and you're asking about your credit card, it may be somebody from AI. And by the way, it's a learning AI. Part of the thing about AI is today they are actually learning. So each time they come up a new problem, new solution, and all that sort of thing. So there's a lot of work, okay? That's from a perspective of the processing and workflow and all that is going to help a great deal from that perspective. Then there are things like research, okay? Especially around economists, equity market type of thing, because it could analyze trends, it could analyze a lot of things. It's going to change a lot of things the way we do it and so on. In terms of communicating with the client, in terms of back office, the way we do things and all that. But one thing for sure, yeah, I think is very, very important. Human being is always very unique. People want to deal with people, and that's going to be always there. It's not going to change. But there's going to be certain jobs which are going to be impacted by virtue of efficiency and effectiveness. We have, for example, AIs we use for our call centers. For each AI machine, it does approximately 5 transactions as opposed to a human being is doing 1. Okay? So these are very initial findings that we're having and so on. So it's going to have a significant impact, but I think it's going to take a bit of time. Thank you, sir. Yes, please.
Thank you very much for the talk and for the insightful remarks. I have a question regarding what you mentioned at the beginning. HSBC is one of the very few international banks.
Yes.
And many of the products and services are done internationally and they cascade to the local level.
Yes.
So in terms of competition and your perspective on competition, what competitors do you think about? Do you think at the international level only? Do you think at the local level, both? How does competition factor into your strategy?
Okay. We look at competition. See, we go back to the point, which is very important part of, okay, when we sit focus on our strength. And what do we mean by that is, this is an area where I have a competitive advantage, okay? There's an element of it where I'm competing with the local bank, and then there is an element of it where I'm competing with an international bank. I don't mind either one. It's just that the area that I believe I have a competitive advantage. I'm going to focus on that. For example, certain things we do in what we call security services. Among the international banks, we're the only bank here. Local banks, I don't think that international investors want to actually link that because they don't have that global link and all. So we're going to focus on what we're good at, and instead of competing with everything. So I will leave it to that. That's one example. Trade is another example. I think having network of 50 countries and so on, I think we're very unique to that. So thank you.
Thank you. Time for one more question? Yes, Dudley.
So I was really interested in that you've actually elevated net zero to one of your sort of key strategies.
Yeah.
That it's not just buried somewhere under corporate social responsibility, that you've got it front and center.
Exactly.
And I'm curious, what are some of the just ways in which you're implementing that strategy? Some examples.
Okay. One of the things is we're actually, for example, in-house, we're looking at the way we operate. How are we doing it? We're going to have KPIs, which, for example, drives this. Okay. We're going to have KPIs for our vendors. We're saying if this vendor doesn't do this and so on, it's not going to be in our list of people who are going to deal with them. In the future, you're going to have the same thing going on with your clients. Even today with clients and so on, at a global level and all that. For example, let's say if something to do with exploring oil, we're not going to finance it. Although we may have a very big relationship with that client, we're going to tell them, sorry, we're not going to be doing that. If it's coal, we're going to say, we're not going to do that. So we're putting together actually preconditions of how we're going to deal with it. And we're going to create, as we're going on, we're going to create more and more and more KPIs to drive this. And a relationship manager or a CEO like myself on my balance scorecard is going to be something saying, you cannot do this. If you do this, then that, and so on. So it impacts people who are actually doing it. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's thank Mr. Mostafawi for the insights and the extensive questions. So as a memento of your time with us, I do have a plate. I don't know if in 2012 we were giving away plates, but you
No,
can
you're
continue to work your way through.
Thank you.
And so where would you like us for the picture?
Whatever you like, you think.
Oh, well, I'm talking to the photography. So.
Maybe I should do it.
Thank you, and let's make certain people exactly what you want. Oh.
It's more from Qatar than HSBC itself. You know, one symbol of Qatar is Ma. You know, the deer Mahatma.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought maybe this will be the best. We've been here for 70 years and all that, and we've been actually sharing this with our clients.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I was gonna also get you dates, but my wife forgot to bring me. So my daughter is now laughing. She's gonna go and tell her mom.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But I'm gonna send you some nice, really, really special dates.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, this is the last of the Dean's lectures of the semester, and so, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, do we have a video to end the session? So let's end the session with the final video. Okay, let us thank Mr. Mostafawi one more time. Thank you so much. Okay, this is the final of the Dean's lectures for this semester, and so we'll be picking them up again in the spring semester, in the new year. But in the meantime, we do have a light lunch prepared, and so that is right out and back in the food court area. Get there first before the students get there. And again, thank you all for coming out today, and again, thank you so much for the insightful talk. Thank you.